My name is Nick Messiers. I've lived in Glendale 24 years. I'm a cisgender male. My pronouns are he, him, his, and yeah.
My name is Gary Freeman. I'm a cisgender male, gay, and I lived in Glendale for 37 years. And my pronouns are he, his, him. Nick and I have been together for 24 years. And about 12 years ago, we had the opportunity to get married, and we took the chance to do that mostly as a political statement that we wanted to push forward. It was during the No on 8 proposition, and we wanted to make a statement to our friends and family and community. We were both, at the time, GCC students, and so we were featured on the front page of the Vaquero, and we were married here in our house with our neighbor who officiated the ceremony, and it was a commitment to each other. It actually had a much stronger emotional context than we were originally thinking. We were only thinking in terms of political, but it had a interesting and evolving kind of spiritual context between the two of us. We refer to each other generally now as husbands, and before then we referred to each other as partners.
I don't really have much to add to that, except that it was very emotional when we got married, more than we thought. Our families were thrilled that they were a family, that they were united through our marriage. Gary's sister stood up for him, my brother stood up for me. And it was important to them and important to us, way more important emotionally. Yeah, we really thought that the next day we would just get up and move on. And it really did change. We realized we were married. It was legal. And it gave us a legitimate standing in the community. You want me to start? Okay. I was single. I was really anxious to get a partner, to get a boyfriend. I had to explore that. I think I'm a better person when I'm partnered. So I belonged to a club that used to have pool parties in the summer. And there was a big pool party on a Sunday, and I went. And I walked in, and there was Gary. And the minute I saw him, I'm like, okay, that's it. This guy's it. And so we talked at the party. We exchanged phone numbers, landlines. This party was on a Sunday. Gary called me on Monday. We had our first date on Tuesday, and we've been together pretty much every day since.
So when we first met, we thought we were really intent on each other, and we were really romantic in this first phase, but we knew that would dim over time, and we needed to construct a relationship that would be on more solid ground. So the first thing we did was go to a series of Shanti seminars, which were based on 3 different weekends and for couples, for gay couples. And the 3 weekends were how to talk about money, how to talk about sex, and how to fight fair. And all those things were really important, and we've used those ever since. But we also realized that the overlap between us needed to be strengthened. There are all these times when it's kind of a slow period. So I went back to school at Glendale Community College and studied photography because Nick was involved with the arts. And I felt like it was something that I'd always wanted to do, and this was the excuse that I could use to do that. and I really enjoyed the photography. And for his part, Nick eventually joined me at GCC doing art projects and drawing and painting. And in a counterpoint, he decided to take up camping with me, which was something that we both still enjoy to this day. In fact, we're going camping this week.
So Gary started doing photography, and I was helping him. It was part of the process. I would get down the information of the different models and he was doing a series of street photography, so we needed a certain amount of information. And so I got involved with that. And then in the process, I went back to school myself and started taking painting and drawing classes at Glendale Community College. And in that process, we got involved with an artist collective here locally in Glendale called Tropico. And we had a number of shows together with them. I showed my paintings, Gary showed his photography, the other people showed their own. Some people did different kind of work altogether. And then that sort of got us moving in the direction of art in Glendale.
So when I began to build a body of work in photography, I decided that I wanted to do street photography. I wanted the kind of immediacy of seeing what people would present to me in a street situation. One problem with that is I was kind of shy. So, and I wanted to do very intimate photographs. So that would mean that I would have to approach someone, engage them, get their permission to take the photograph, and be very close to them during that period of time. So I quickly realized that what attracted me often was very extroverted people, and it was also very easy to engage them. So I would photograph the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence before the Gay Day Parade, or we'd go to the How Weird Festival in San Francisco, and there would be multitudes of people who had dressed up for the day, and they were ready for their close-up, and I was their close-up. And Nick would help me because part of the exchange was that we would always send them a copy of the photograph.
Yeah. Gary liked to, because Gary would have to be setting the shot, I would be talking to them and saying, he's going to come in close, because they'd want to make a pose, and we're like, we're not going to see that. He's going to get in close, and I was getting the information about sending the image. And so we worked as a team, and that worked really well. And it was fun to do. It gave us a focus for a weekend or for the day, like a Gay Pride Festival. So it really worked we were doing art together.
The beginning of the Fair Oaks Project, which is a collection of photographs, Polaroids actually, that were taken in a gay bathhouse in 1978 in San Francisco. They were taken by a photographer, Frank Milano, who was my best friend. He's since deceased. But he showed us the Polaroids in his house one day, his apartment, and he said he wanted us to see them, and we spread them out on the floor and the divan and the chairs, and we said, "There's a show here. There's in fact not only a show, but it's a very strong message about the gleefulness and the playfulness of the gay community before AIDS." 1978, and the Fair Oaks was a bathhouse, so that's where the name comes from. And we began digitizing them and expanding them to presentation state because they were too small and too dark to show as Polaroids. And so we got originally interested with the Darkroom Gallery here in Los Angeles. And then from there we went to Highways out in Santa Monica. And later we went to San Francisco at the Center for Sex and Culture. And finally we took it to the Leslie Lohman Gallery in New York. In the meantime, we were reviewed by both The Advocate and Lambda Literary. And it's been a wonderful experience of meeting people and expanding on this theme that before the AIDS epidemic, there was this meeting place which was community and a supportive area for gay men, and we wanted to show that in this show.
One thing I'd like to bring up is that when we first started with the project, we naturally thought it would have a home in San Francisco. And that didn't happen at first. We had a lot of supporters in San Francisco. We had people who knew people, you know, that old phrase, people who knew people, but it just did not move forward. The Gay and Lesbian Archive in San Francisco was like, we'll take the images, but we're just going to put them away. And we felt it was important for them to be shown, that people had to see them first. Of course, once they've been seen, then a researcher will know they even exist. We really wanted people to see these images. So it took us a long time to crack San Francisco. But we finally did, I think ultimately with the Center for Sex and Culture. They gave us a big show, and it was very well received. And it was really heartening to see it in its home. And in fact, on the opening night in San Francisco, people that were in the photographs showed up, which was amazing. It was really amazing because we didn't even know how many of them were even still alive. There was no, of course, everyone looked really different, but there were people that showed up that were in the photographs, and that was wonderful.
So about 5 years ago, we came together with Gray James and several other people here in Glendale, and we were meeting about the idea of creating a community, a visible community inside of Glendale, because we knew there were gay people here, but they always participated in gay adventures in West Hollywood or Silver Lake, and so we thought we needed a certain identity of our own. And we came up with this idea of having Gaydale, which was kind of fun and clever. It had its own problems, of course, though, with the name, that it doesn't seem to be as inclusive as we wanted it to be. But we had a couple of nice social events. We had a big cocktail party at a restaurant, and we had a roller rink get together and a bowling night, and it was quite well attended for all of those events. But it didn't stretch further than that, and it began to peter off, and it went dormant for about 2 years, and it came back again, resurfaced with Gray, with art shows, which I'll let Nick tell you.
Well, Gray had become associated with the ACE 121 gallery, and he found out that the gallery was going to be dark the month of June, and he decided we were going to put on a gay art show. And so we jumped on it. We had artist friends. We had put on shows before, so we said we can do this. So we just started putting it together. We started contacting people. Gray put a Facebook page together for it, asking people to write in a paragraph about what makes them queer. And that was the theme. What makes you queer? And so we were getting all of those written responses in. We were getting the artwork in, and we hung the show. So the show was coming together. And Gray and I started to put the sign up on the glass outside. Bright pink letters. What makes you, and in foot-high letters, in silver glitter, what makes you queer? And that was when the management of the building said, have we talked about this? And Gray and I were both very firm. We've talked about it, we're going with it, and this is what we're doing. And they said, okay, we'll see. And we said, yeah, we're going to see. We don't know. That was when we realized that Glendale had never had a gay art show. that this was really a first for Glendale. So as a little aside, after we got the sign up, I was watching the gallery while we were taking in art, and a gentleman came up to me and he said, in broken English, but he said, "What's queer?" And I realized, how do I tell him? I was really stuck, and I started to go into it, like, well, it means, you could be non-binary, and I got into this long discussion, and I realized, no, he just didn't understand the English word. He wanted to know what the word was. So, it was really, look it up in the dictionary, was what I finally said. And it was very nice. It was totally a pleasant interaction. But that was how it first came to be. Well, and that first show was a great show and a big success for us. We felt very accomplished. The next year, we were approached by some teachers from the Glendale School District, and they had seen the show and wanted us to help them put on a gay art show for the students of the Glendale community. So we went for it. We had many meetings with them. They were very positive. The head of the PTA was at the first meeting. She was right there with us all the way. The teachers were all involved. And as we got closer, we saw the quality of the art was really wonderful and very heartfelt. We were concerned about the sexuality of the students, and it turned out that wasn't what it was about. It was about their gender identity. That was what they were concerned about. And they were also concerned about being able to come out about that. So we made the theme Glendale Coming Out, and then we changed our name from Gaydale to Glendale Out. And so we had a wonderful show for the students at Crescenta Valley High School with the immense help of Alicia Harris. And then we took all the student work and it combined it with the adult work at the ACE 121 Gallery. And it was a large success. People were really thrilled to see young people's work mixed in with the professional work. And the professional artists liked it too. We were worried about their reaction, but they were really very positive about it also. And again, it was a very successful show. We sold a lot of work. We don't get any money from that. All the money goes directly to the artists. But that's part of being an artist, is making it help support you. One of the great things for us curating the student show was to see the students' reaction and their families' reaction to their work on the wall. I remember it was the opening night, and I was standing in the gallery, and a little girl came in, obviously with like her father and mother, her grandmother, and maybe some brothers and sisters. And she stood there, pointed across the room, and said, "There's my work." I thought, I got to talk to this girl. So I started moving across the gallery to get to her, and as she got to her work, I said, "Is this your work?" She said, "Yes, it is." I said, "Can I shake your hand? I want to thank you for participating in the show." She said, "You're welcome." And as I was shaking her hand, I looked up and I saw her father looking at me kind of in wonderment. And I realized that they had been afraid of coming, that there was a fear, they were afraid of the safety of their child being in this show. And at that moment, they realized that we had made a safe space for her to show her art and to be who she was.
And she was all of like 10
she was
years
like
old?
8 or 9.
And
She was a little girl. It was wonderful. So that really opened my eyes to working with kids and realizing that was something that we as adults had been keeping ourselves from. That we have been doing a disservice to children, to kids. We really need to be more involved with kids as they're coming up and help them, mentor them. So after the show came down, it was about a week later, we got a call from the Glendale school districts. And they said, "We have a meeting on Tuesday. Would you gentlemen come to the meeting?" And we were like, "Okay, yeah, we'll come." And we thought, this is it. This is where we're going to get hammered. We're going to get in trouble for putting on this show, because it wasn't exactly legitimate. It was through the gay, straight alliances.
For their first queer show.
Their first queer show. So we showed up to the meeting, and Gray James, Gary, and I, and the superintendent of the schools of Glendale stood up, and they made June Gay Pride Month in all the Glendale schools with a proclamation and everything. And so June is Gay Pride Month in Glendale schools from now on because of that student work. And because Alicia Harris came to us and said, I want to put on an art show, and because Gray and Gary and I thought, let's give it a go.
The difference in celebrating this moment of Glendale coming forward and saying that they were wanting to make it Pride Month was such a dramatic change from when when I had begun working in the gay community. Actually, back in San Francisco in the 70s, I had made a presentation to a class about being gay, and it caused the high school class to explode. It was such a big and bad experience that it went all the way to the state legislature about why did they allow gay people to come in and speak to students. That it had created a certain gun shyness on my part. And here it turned around to the point that we realized that we were now helping people, helping kids come to terms with their lives and their family. And we were being recognized by the gay school, by the Glendale School Board for doing a good thing. So it is an incredible 180 turnaround.
Well, since all of these art shows and Gaydale and everything else, Gary and I, of course, we present as a couple. We walk every day here. We live in Adams Hill. We walk every day. We walk the hill. People recognize us as a couple that way. When we go into Glendale, people recognize us as a couple. We recognize other couples in Glendale. We see the work we've done as something fun. We didn't realize that there would be a byproduct of moving the gauge forward for gay people in Glendale. We thought we were just making a safer space for us. I think we've done that, and hopefully we'll be able to keep continuing doing that, and it'll be a nicer place for all gay people in our community in Glendale.
Yeah, this is a kind of celebration of a queer culture, which means it's a little different out of the mainstream. And of course, we want something a little bit different, don't we all? I mean, otherwise, it gets to be pretty vanilla, you know? So, yes, we're looking forward to participating and seeing what other people bring forward. You know, this is a chance that we may trade off the baton to someone else who runs the next link of the race.